Yeah, I think one big thing that you didn't mention there, probably not a big stat for you, but strength of schedule. According to sharpfootball.com, Eagles had the second easiest schedule. Guess who had the hardest?
Don't bring this. Don't flip
Guess
flop
guess who had the
sides. You
hardest?
two don't flip flop sides here. I've been saying the NFC is crap all year, and the Eagles are frauds. And you guys are, oh, the Eagles are so good. The Eagles are this. The Eagles are that.
The Eagles are good. These are
Don't
the two
don't
best
Yeah,
teams
bring
in the
up
NFL right now. The Eagles are a stacked roster,
yeah.
but the NFC. I've said
the
it too. The
Eagles are
NFC
the
has been a
second best
cakewalk this
team
year.
when you have to set it AFC NFC. Are the Eagles the second best team when you get to
Yeah,
pick from
they
the
could beat the
litter
Bills.
of
They could beat
all
the Bengals.
32 teams? I
Yeah,
don't think they're beating the Bengals.
I
They
think
could
they
beat the
are
Bengals.
easily.
That D line against their O line.
Come on, man. But like I said, who had this hardest, toughest strength of schedule this year? Any guesses?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for the guess.
The Eagles haven't. I think the big thing is the Eagles haven't faced a quarterback that's even close to being compared to Mahomes. Like what quarterbacks did they play this year? That's been a big narrative. Like the playoff quarterbacks that they had to play are nothing compared to Patrick Mahomes.
A lot of people want to put Dak on that pedestal. I'm not one of those people.
But Dak went off against him.
Once.
That's what I'm saying. Like there
He only
there are
played him
people who
once.
want to put Dak on that pedestal. If you want to you want to talk about who the quarterbacks that they have faced, you could say Dak is one of them if you believe Dak is one of those guys. I don't, but he did play well, given that they're in the same division. You want to look at who else they've played? Nobody, nobody. There's no other quarterbacks that they faced. You want to give it to Kirk Cousins? I don't think so. Aaron Rodgers, not this season.
And they made Kirk Cousins look terrible too.
Exactly. So
Kirk
like
had so many picks that game.
I would say Brock Purdy, but they didn't get to play against Brock Purdy because he tore his UCL. Like you look at this list, and the best quarterbacks that they would have faced are Dak Prescott.
Christian McCaffrey.
Would have been Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins, and that's
And
bad.
you can go ahead and say Aaron Rodgers. But
Sure. I'm not, but you can.
Well, you were
Jared
going to
Goff.
say Dak Prescott, but here we are.
Stop it.
Jared Goff is that guy to me.
Yeah,
Stop
definitely.
it. So let's break down even more into what these teams have done throughout the season. One of the things that we have constantly talked about on this podcast is the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line being garbage.
Good.
We've talked about them being not so good. Orlando Brown playing
Great.
bad, playing himself out of a
One of the
contract.
best offensive line units in the league.
One of the best offensive line units in the league. As much as we've harped on
Trey
how bad
Smith,
that
Creed
they've been,
Humphrey, Joe
they haven't
Tooney,
been.
best
We've given
mid
up
three in the whole game.
We've given up only 26 sacks this year.
We
Just
good.
third best in the league.
Pat's also pretty good at scrambling.
He is. He is. Well, but you say that, and you look at the Eagles, and you're like, okay, you've got a running quarterback, a quarterback who definitely would be able to drop back and run away from those issues because
Frank
of
knows
his
what to do.
abilities.
Frank
Yeah,
knows
no,
exactly what to do this game.
the Eagles have given up
He's not going to be able to
44
run.
sacks this season, which is 11th worst in the league.
And
Jason
there's a
Kelce
lot of
was
people
stuck.
out there that think the Eagles have a fabulous offensive line.
Not been
Like
good.
they tout. I mean, Kelsey's great, sure, but I mean, Skip saying he's the best center in the league. Like Lane Johnson, even with an injury, is like one of the best. Like Coward putting Lane Johnson in like the top 10 best player, top 12 best players in this game right now. Like they think that offensive line is fantastic. But I mean, you just pointed it out. They're not the best. I think our tackles are a weak spot, and that's where your premier pass rushers are. But the combination of who's on our offensive line and Pat being able to shift around a little bit, we got a good thing going on offense. I think offensive line should definitely, if you're going to do greater than, less than, you should say the Chiefs' offensive line is way better than the Eagles' offensive line.
You'd have to. And the grades do show that when it comes to rushing ability as well. So not only have we given up the third least amount of sacks, when it comes to rushing yards, we don't have that many attempts when it comes down to it. 107, almost 108 yards per game, the Eagles to 146. Yet we come out with a higher yards per carry on less carries while they carry the ball 30 times a game. A predominantly rushing team is not really putting up that many rushing yards in game, 146. And then to top that off, they're only passing the ball for 223 yards a game on average, but we're putting up 280. But when it comes to putting up the yards, we're smoking these guys, offense or rushing wise and passing wise.
I think it's just like the caliber of play that they have. Like, they can hit home runs. They have talented people at skill positions. They're running back by committee. While the numbers aren't there, they still have athletes back there that can make plays at any given time. They've done what they needed to do to win in the NFC. Like, they had a insane record. Like, this they're number one seed in the NFC. Okay.
They live to rush the ball from the clock out. So they get up early, they hold them on defense, they keep rushing the ball. Granted, you're not getting a whole lot of yardage out of that, but still, that's where their low yardage comes from, pretty much.
It's low yardage, but they're still almost averaging 30 points a game. Obviously, both teams have put up the same number of points this season, so we both average 28.7 points per game, almost 30 points a game. It's not like they're running for small or like to run the clock out. They are still going out and being able to put up 4 touchdowns per game.
I if we were going to grade rushing attacks, considering what we've done in the playoffs so far this year, I'm giving it to the Eagles because you have to add Jalen Hurts into that equation. But I am, like I slyly said earlier, like, Frank Clark is going to do a great job setting the edge. I think old 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 timey Spags knows what to do with the running quarterback. There's very basic fundamental things that you could do to stop a rushing quarterback, and I think he had plenty of time to get that stuff put in. And I think the Eagles' rushing attack is better than ours, but I think that'll be able to be mitigated.
I'll get into the defensive stats here in just a minute, but I really want to focus on kind of what this Chiefs offense can do given the numbers that we just talked about. Part of that coincides with we've got no injuries. Obviously, Kerry McCole Hardman is done for the season, been placed on injured reserve, while Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been activated, will be active for the Super Bowl, will be
Clyde,
potentially
3-touchdown game coming up, man.
Super Bowl MVP.
But that's also really good news because Juju is back. L'Jarius has cleared concussion protocol. Kadarius Toney was pictured at practice today.
L'Jarius, Kadarius, Masnarius.
KT was had no wrap ups on his ankle. There were no braces, no nothing, and he was able to practice fully as of today. There was only one light participant, which was L'Jarius Sneed on Thursday's practice. We look good. Everybody else on the Eagles as well. Pretty much everybody light practice for them. Could have just been one of their days. As far as injuries go, not too bad. So what should we be expecting from the Kansas City Chiefs this Super Bowl Sunday? Give me your call outs. Give me your shots. The offense. What are we looking for here?
Tabo?
Look, don't expect Kadarius or Juju to make it through this entire game. Pat's going to spread the ball around. I expect Clyde to catch. I expect them to have a couple of specific plays for Clyde. Clyde's going to score at least a touchdown in this game.
I think this is going to be an actually huge game for Pacheco. Everybody's talking about him right now. They're expecting him to be the breakout player, as am I. Look for him to catch a lot in the screen game, get started a little bit in the run game. If he busts a few out, he's just going to break them all off. Every run he has, more than 3 yards. Calling it now. Maybe 2 behind the line, but everything else over 3 yards. But he's going to get at least 5 catches for 60 yards.
I'll be honest. We talked, Tybo, you were saying like don't expect some players to play full games. The biggest player on our offense who's gonna have the most impact outside of Isaiah Pacheco and obviously Patrick Mahomes is gonna be Kadarius Toney. He's gonna walk
I
away with
sure
at
hope
least
so.
he's gonna walk away with at least 1 touchdown in this game. I would go as far to say he's probably gonna walk out of there with over 50 yards receiving. Probably going to be 6, 7 targets. Like this guy is going to be one of the guys that Patrick Mahomes leans on, who's going to be open and getting open. And we're going to probably run a bunch of weird, wild setups to throw this smart Eagles defense off. He's going to be one of those guys. I would also go as far to say Travis Kelce will have a touchdown, but expect him to have under 80 yards receiving.
We're going to see some plays that we haven't seen before.
We usually do when it
be,
comes to Andy
yeah.
Reid offense in postseason.
So there's going to be something that's been ready to be put in the offense like almost all season. And he's like, "We're here, boys. Time to pull it out."
Some really weird motion on one play, for sure.
Let's jump over to the defense real quick, just to go through some numbers of how the season has wrapped up. The Eagles' defense, which is top 5 in points allowed per game, 20.2 points allowed per game, while the Chiefs have only allowed 21.7. So we're right there. For as bad as we thought the defense has played throughout the season, really not that bad. And I'd like to compare some numbers here because we've only allowed 101.9 rushing yards per game, whereas the Eagles have averaged 146 yards per game. So it seems like we may stifle them a little bit if we can stick to our guns like we have been, while the Eagles allow 113 rushing yards per game, and we hit about the 107 mark. So maybe we'll see a little uptick in Isaiah Pacheco and how he's able to be efficient come on Sunday. As well, when it comes to passing yards allowed, we give up 210, where that's probably about where they're sitting at the 220 mark. And they only allow 162 and a half passing yards per game, where we average 280. Now, we've talked about it a lot. Their defensive line is fantastic. Their DBs are great. How does, like, with those sorts of numbers, looking at how they cause an effect there, how do you think that outlook is between rushing and passing for our offense and their defense?
Yeah, look, I think the running games are going to be pretty moot in this game. I don't think either side is going to gain the edge through running the ball. This is a new age NFL. We have Pat Mahomes on one side, and you have a really scary receiving core and a talented quarterback on the other side. I'm not really going to praise Jalen Hurts too much because I don't believe in him as like a longevity franchise quarterback. I think he has a lot of great weapons around him right now, and a pretty stacked defense to go with it. Said it all year long. I think the Eagles have the most stacked roster in the NFL. But I mean, we got Pat Mahomes, dude. He may throw a pick or two this game, but I think he's going to come close to breaking some like Super Bowl records for yardage. Maybe even throw 7 TDs more than. Oh man, I had it. I don't know who threw 6.
You're saying right now that Patrick Mahomes is going to
Steve
throw
Young.
for 7 touchdowns?
Steve Young, that's what it was. Steve Young threw 6 TDs in a Super Bowl. Yeah, Pat Mahomes is going to have 7 passing touchdowns. And a couple of them are going to be like little dinky, like 1-yarders to the running backs, like McKinnon, Clyde, Pacheco. But yeah,
Underhand tosses,
yeah.
It's just going to be a wild scoring game. It's going to
little
be no
pass forward on a
defense.
jet sweep.
No, like I said, Pat might throw a pick or two. They've got some good corners and safeties. They have a
How are you going to
fabulous
throw a
secondary
pick or two and still have enough time to throw 7 touchdown passes?
because
We're
our
gonna
defense
score
is
like
going to
this,
get the
man.
ball back. Yeah, our defense they're going to score quickly on sometimes. They're going to have a strike or two. They're going to have some quick possessions. They're going to have some 3-and-outs. Our defense is going to get to Jalen Hurts. Our defensive line is going to get to Jalen Hurts. He's not going to be able to run all over us.
So the way I think it plays out by the numbers, I think we end up with a lot more passing yards than what they average, and actually what we average as well. Pat's going to have a humongous day. They're not going to get close to the
457 touchdowns,
minimum,
2 interceptions.
But there is no way that they're going to get to their numbers. I just don't see it happening. Our defense is a lot better than most defenses they have played recently. Niners, they just got into a shit show last week. And one thing about their quarterback, last time he was playing in an end of the year game, he got benched at halftime. Can he handle the pressure? That's the last time, man. I mean,
if
am I
Frank
wrong?
Clark's gonna be out there, be like, "Where's Tua at?"
So then let's do the same thing. Let's jump over to our defense, given those numbers. It's looking like by our average numbers, we could just shut down their run game. I mean, it's only 40 yards less than what they average on per game basis. But if we're able to even stifle or stuff that run game early, like we generally do, they're going to abandon the run game and it's going to go downhill for them. How do you think that affects our defense being able to make them one-dimensional, possibly take away the run game from Jalen Hurts altogether?
Look, I know I've been saying they're not going to run all over us, but the Eagles, it's just in their DNA. They're not going to abandon the run game. I don't think it's going to be like a total domination in the run game either by our defense. But the Eagles are going to be forced to pass in a lot of situations, and they're going to make some of those plays. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, the things that they can do on offense, they're going to make some plays out there. They're going to score. They're going to, probably have a home run or two. AJ Brown is probably going to beat a rookie out there once or twice.
I like that you brought that up because I wanted to bring this up to Sean. You guys both know that I am not a Spags fan. I don't think any of the three of us here are. Most people aren't these days, but I would like to point out when you go look at the film for Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator, there is a scheme that he does the best against, and it is a vertical passing scheme. And you just talked about it, Tybo, is what the Eagles run is a vertical passing scheme. They get AJ Brown and Devontae Adams north. They have the Devontae Adams, Devontae Smith. Find me. They have them run north, and then obviously
they also got a really speedy guy in Quez Watkins.
They do, and they've got Dallas
Goedert in the middle,
who doesn't do the vertical scheme. He's going to be through the middle usually in some sort of crossing pattern, but it is a vertical scheme, and that is where Steve Spagnuolo is his best because he can dial up those crazy blitzes that we've been seeing all throughout the season, and that's where he wins the ball games. This is one of the better matchups that we could have asked for, having Steve Spagnuolo as the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs this year in this specific situation. How do you feel about that, knowing we're going into a game, Sean, where we're playing to our defense's strength?
I love that. Especially with our rookies performing last week against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. We got some experience with that last week. Looks like Snead's going to play this week. What more could you ask for? These guys are coming into their own right at the perfect time, and our defense is thriving with that. Love to see that. Ready to see what they're going to do on Sunday.
Turnovers differential is not very good. We were negative going into the playoffs. After the playoffs, we are at finally back to 0. We are not negative. We're not positive. We are finally flat. Well,
Thank you, Joe
look at the
Burrow.
Eagles. Well, you look at the Eagles and they're plus 12. A little disheartening on our end, but Tybo, you've talked about it. We're gonna turn the ball over at least twice. What does it look like for our defense? Like, are we just going to be getting some 3 and outs here or there, or do you guys expect us to be able to come up with some fumbles and hit Jalen in the backfield and maybe get some strips? Like, what does this look like?
We're gonna get a few 3 and outs, but we're gonna get 1 fumble on Jalen or a running back and 2 interceptions off Jalen.
I don't think there's much of a chance of that happening, to be completely honest. The level of play out of the rookies in the secondary has been great. In the playoffs, we're getting their best ball, and that's wonderful. The Bengals game last week or 2 weeks ago is not the status quo for our defense. Okay, guys, we're gonna play tough. We're gonna make our tackles. Don't expect Willie Gay, Nick Bolton to be missing a bunch of tackles out there. Like, we're gonna play a physical game. We're not gonna let them run all over us. Like, Jalen Hurts won't lead the Eagles in rushing yards, but it's not gonna. We're not gonna have a 2 interception. It's just not gonna happen.
I don't think we'll have a 2 interception day, but I think we will have a 2 turnover day. I could see us walking away with a fumble of some sorts, whether that's strip, sack, or one of our linebackers making a big hit over the middle. I could see that. I would say I think we can walk away with 2 the way that the defense has been performing in this postseason. A couple more things I wanted to get to here. One of the bigger talking points that's been thrown around for this Super Bowl and for the season as a whole is the ref officiating. And Roger Goodell got up on a podium, was asked about the officiating for the NFL this season, and he answered it by saying this is the best it's ever been, which is clearly a bold-faced lie because he's covering face, as that's what his job is supposed to be. The biggest issue we have is probably one of the most egregious referees in the league, and Carl Sheffers and his crew are going to be reffing this Super Bowl. It's his second Super Bowl in 3 years. The last time that he did a Super Bowl was Kansas City Chiefs versus Tampa Bay, where he threw 9 first-half penalties. I believe it was even 9 first-quarter penalties against the Kansas City Chiefs as we got routed by Tom Brady and the Bucks. But I did go back and I looked at some of his penalties, and it was kind of jarring. He leads the league generally in penalties given, no matter if it's home or away, just combined. This year alone, he's given over 10 penalties on average per game. And he's been doing the playoffs. He started as an NFL referee back in 2009. Since then, I believe he's done it was either 12 or 13 playoff games, which is quite a few. In that time, from 2009 up into this year, his average penalties per game given are 12. Rounding up, it's 12 per game, which means that he likes to interject himself and make himself a name while he's on the grandest stage. Are you guys worried about Carl Sheffers and his crew at all?
For God's sakes, Carl Sheffers, you don't have to make your quota in this game. He has plenty of calls that when you look at the replay, multiple people, like probably the majority of the people that look at this, what just happened, they're like, why are you throwing that flag? please only throw your flag if you have to. Okay? It's like get it through the crew's head. Like it's not your game. This is for us. Okay? We don't want to see penalties. The NFL wants offense, offense, offense. Viewership wants offense, offense, touchdowns, touchdowns, touchdowns. We don't want to see yellow laundry on the field. Please don't call it unless you have to. There's going to be a couple of egregious things here and there that we know we have to see penalties for, but a weak defensive pass interference, like there were some really shitty calls against the Chiefs, and like not all of them were shitty calls, but there were a couple that were really bad in the Chiefs Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, and we can't have that.
There's some bad ones. I don't want to see it again. That's one of Sean. That's one of the things that like we see constantly when it's in the regular season is there's usually more penalties on average in the regular season than we should be seeing in the postseason. We want them to get mistakes out of the way. We want them to be able to be ready when it comes to the big game. Why is it with this specific crew and it's not? I mean, with most other crews, they let this play. Like we ask the refs and the NFL to allow these guys to be a little bit more physical. Let them get away with things because this is more of a nuance than it is in the regular season. You've got top skill players going against top skill players against top skill minds. Why is it with this specific guy that we're seeing this on the biggest stage, and how does it impact the game?
Well, it all comes down to Carl Sheffers does not understand the moment ever.
I hate this guy.
Like, come on, man. Realize it's a Super Bowl. Realize they're going to put everything they have on the line. This could be some people's only time to actually ever play in this game. Let them go out there and give it their all. Don't call the ticky-tack shit. I know we love to, but just understand that this is the Super Bowl, Carl. Figure it out, Carl.
Carl.
Come on, Carl.
Carl. Is there anything else? I've got some numbers that I've crunched and wanted to talk about, but that's when we get into our pick'em. Is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about before we get into that? It's the Super Bowl, baby. There's a lot to cover.
It's exciting, man.
You guys are set? We're set? All right, then. So I want to, before we get into our pick'em here, I want to reiterate. In the last 12 Super Bowls, only 3 teams not wearing a jersey color of white.
Do you think that's going to matter for our pick, though?
I'm just saying.
Like, you think we're going to pick the Eagles?
It's not just for you guys. I'm talking to the fans. I'm talking to the fans.
Are you picking the Eagles?
No. Hang on. What are
you picking the Eagles?
Dude.
What are we wearing? What are we wearing, Tybo? We're wearing.
Are you
white.
So that stat doesn't matter at all.
I haven't made my
pick the Chiefs no matter what.
Are
you picking the Eagles?
Why are you asking? We haven't made it to pick them yet.
Pick them, bud. Are you picking the Eagles?
You're up.
Why are we talking about this?
There are other numbers I want to get to. Sit down. And shut your mouth. Know your role, you jabroni.
I know my role. Chiefs dub. Okay.
Make that 2.
The Super Bowl winners going back to 2010 have averaged a score of 29.5 points. The losers have averaged 18.6 points.
Well, I got to get 7 touchdowns in here, so we're going to score at least 49 points.
The average total points scored in Super Bowls since 2010, so over the last 12 Super Bowls, is a combined 48.5 points.
Wow.
The average?
I'm going to shatter that.
So the average...
Patrick's going to kill that by himself.
48.5 points. That includes 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. So the reason I want to say that is, yes, we do have our pick 'em, but we are picking the scores of the games. And so those may influence what your scores may be.
They didn't at all.
All right. Well, it's good to know that yours are going to be totally overblown.
Blow me.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh yeah.
Going back to championship weekend, the both of you tied. Going back to the divisional round, Sean won. Since Sean won,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
I won pick'em. I
won
won
pick.
the
I won
whole
most
thing.
Pick'em's
recently.
not over. Pick'em's not over.
What do you mean? I got the pot of money.
The season's not over.
I'm going.
Tybo, where
Just-
do you want to pick?
I don't care.
Where do you want
You
to
want me
pick?
to go first? I'll go
You
first.
wanna
No,
go
Ty Bob
first?
goes first, so we can hear him pick the Eagles because that's what
Okay,
he wants
yeah.
to pick.
Ty Bob, I'm going second.
Okay. Well, the Chiefs play the Eagles in Phoenix State Farm Stadium on Sunday, 5:30. The Eagles are one
you-
and a half point favorites.
Get to that point, man.
I'm picking the Chiefs to win this one, bringing
Thank
home
God.
another Super Bowl. We're going to win this one 32-27.
32.
Excuse me, 32-29.
Okay.
Hmm.
Listen, it's Super Bowl 57. The Chiefs are going to score 57 points. 57-33.
This guy.
7 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes.
7 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes.
How do they get to 57?
I'm not going to go through all that crap.
57.
1 rushing touchdown, 1 2-point conversion. I like it.
Oh, we're gonna have a
obvious
couple
pick.
we're gonna have a couple missed extra points in there. But nobody's gonna care because we're winning.
Because we got 57 points.
We have 57 points.
Obviously, Chiefs are going to win this game. We're going to go 42-33.
These are high scoring games. So you guys
Yeah.
are saying the average of what the Super Bowl is just going to get completely bumped up.
Obliterated.
Yeah, we don't care about those numbers.
We are an
I would
outlier.
love to see it.
Thanks
It's-
to
This is a dome
Sean.
game, man.
outlier.
You're
Shut
forgetting
up,
it's a
Sean.
dome game. Outlier.
Out. Thank you. You've learned.
Just for you.
Home game doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. We thought it meant something.
Patrick
and then Patrick
Mahomes,
Mahomes,
are you serious?
Patrick in
Well,
domes. Patrick getting
what's
dome
the-
in a dome.
what's the difference in Patrick Mahomes playing in a dome? Because we thought that was going to be amazing when we played the Lions the first time, like 3 years ago, and we played like junk.
Patrick has
That
never
was an
lost in a
outlier.
dome.
I didn't say we were losing. I'm just saying.
Patrick has never lost in a dome.
All right, these guys. Again,
Because the
17 and
Colts'
0,
roof
and we're
was
winning the
open.
Super Bowl by 9.
Exactly.
Listen,
What?
a lot of stuff going on. The media has been subpar as it usually is, and there's a possibility that I walk away $700 richer with all the bets that I've placed.
Good for you, bud.
I thought he was saying something. He's got a sneeze going on. I'm excited. I don't know. Oh yeah, you guys are in Missouri too. Well, Tybo will be over here.
Missouri.
Maybe he can place some bets while he's in Kansas watching the Super Bowl.
I'm
I don't
not.
think that's gonna happen, man.
This guy.
I bring bad juju when I bet on my teams. It's not. I'm not going to do it.
I like it. That's all right. Fair. Got a hell of a game ready to go. I'm excited. Kelsey Bowl, clearly the 2 best teams in the league, 2 best offenses in the league. A lot going on. Make sure that you come back and check us back out when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl on Tuesday. Maybe Tybo gets to take off work on Wednesday after we win. We get to go watch a little bit of Super Bowl parade, maybe. It'll be a beautiful sight as everybody joins together down at the fountains at Union Station. Check us back out next week. We'll catch you next time. Always remember, go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs!
Chiefs.